Hello, welcome. Today you are in for a treat. We are talking all about leading one-on-ones, or should I say, working within one-on-ones for your employees. Little spoiler alert, we're going to say that they are meant to be leading those discussions, and that is going to be our topic for today. So it is not about how you would work within your one-on-one with your upline. This is all about your staff, your team, and how the one-on-ones for them that you're holding with them are working and how they're run. So I am Kelly Hearn. This is Transitional Leadership, and you will find in this playlist videos and tips and tricks to support leaders who are working with teams. All right, so if you learned something today or from any of the videos, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, all the things. All of that helps for other people to find it, and make sure that we are sharing all of this insight with anyone who could need it. Okay, so for today, like I said, we are talking about one-on-ones and not your one-on-ones. Now, there are other videos about the employee and how they should be working within the confines of their one-on-one. There's also a blog post that supports this too. So I do want to encourage you, if you are feeling like your one-on-ones that you're going into that are supposed to be about you, could use a little work, could use a little fine tuning. There's definitely resources out there on the channel and on the blog. Go to kellyhearn.com and you will find Take Control of the Meeting. That would be a great resource for you. But in this video, we are talking about how you're supporting your employees through that. Okay? All right, so let's dig in. Now, there's going to be a lot to take away from this video. But quite honestly, if you only take away one thing, it is going to be that you do not create the agenda. That is not for you to do in this meeting. You as a leader are probably running plenty of meetings. You're probably setting up plenty of agendas and to-do lists and itineraries. And this one isn't yours. Okay? Do not set the list. This is for your employee. This is their time. And if you feel like you're going into one-on-ones with this long list of all the things that you want to cover, or you want to check off, you're doing it wrong, friend. You're doing it wrong. Okay. So why do we say that it's their responsibility to lead these meetings? Why do I want you to not come with an agenda? It's because the one-on-one meeting is not a structure for you to have a conversation about the ticky-tacky things. This isn't the time for you to go through, um, did they meet their SLA? Are they hitting all their production numbers? There's other meetings for that. There's probably unit meetings. There's probably team meetings. When you're seeing a slip in the trend or a difference in how they are working overall, you should be addressing those at that time, not waiting for your monthly, biweekly, or weekly one-on-ones, right? Okay, so these meetings that you have set up, these are for the employee. Now, I would encourage you to have some sort of information at your fingertips on the off chance that you guys get done early, which is a distinct possibility with the framework that I give them. However, it's not the primary that you're walking into, okay? So let's backtrack just a little bit. You are having regular one-on-ones, right? It isn't just because we're getting to review time that you're setting up a one-on-one, right? And it's not just when the company or HR tells you have to do succession planning that you're having the one-on-ones, right? Make sure that you have them set up at least monthly. I've seen them as frequently as, well, I've seen them as frequently as every day, but that's not useful. Don't do that. But I've seen them as frequently as weekly and as infrequently as monthly. And depending on your relationship and the type of work that the person's doing and the amount of touch that they need, anywhere in that range, 1 week to 1 month, every week to every month, could be perfectly acceptable. But just make sure that you have them on some regular cadence. And while we're talking about the structure of the meeting, make sure you're keeping them as well. Make sure you're making them a priority. Sometimes things will come up. I totally understand. And I was having meetings, one-on-one meetings with, I think, 10 employees at a time at one point. There's going to be conflicts that come up, and that's okay. Communicate and reschedule. Don't show up 20 minutes late to a 30-minute one-on-one. No one wants that. You don't want that. They don't want that. It just communicates disrespect. So make sure you have them on a regular cadence and make sure that you are keeping them a priority on your calendar and being respectful of that time. All right, so now let's get into the meat of it. Let's stop talking about the structure, right? So what are you going to do to encourage your employee to make sure that they are taking the reins on this meeting? First two things, get quiet and stay curious. Get quiet, stay curious. That is a tough thing for a lot of leaders, right? We know what should happen and we know what they should be doing, where they should be focusing. We should just tell them, we should just say it outright. In a lot of situations, yes. In a lot of situations, being direct is super helpful. Not in this one. This is not your time to be super direct and upfront and to the point. Not at the beginning of the meeting. Nope. We are going to be quiet and encourage them to talk to us. We want them to share what's going well. We want them to share where they're struggling. We want them to feel comfortable and that there's a space and a break in time that they can share this information. So this is not when you come in guns a-blazing with all of your information. Even if you know what their wins are, even if you know what their struggles are, you're not coming with that, okay? You're inviting them in to bring you that information. So what could that look like? It could be a literal invitation. It could be, hey, Susie, I'm so excited to have this time designated to have this conversation today. Tell me a little bit about what wins you had this week or this month, whatever that cadence is, right? Tell me a little bit about the wins you've had. See what she comes up with. It's tough to have a pause there. And the pause has to be longer than what's comfortable. I know that doesn't, you want it to be comfortable, right? You don't want to have an awkward pause. You do. You want someone to know that you're waiting for them to speak. I will frequently count it out on my fingers. So I'll have my fingers down, you can't see them in the video, but to illustrate it, I will just tap it out on my fingers to make sure that I'm giving at least 8 seconds for them to respond. And if they don't, I'll respond with another question, which is definitely what I would encourage you to do because we're staying curious, right? We're going to get quiet and stay curious. So, hey, Susie, welcome to the meeting. So excited that we could set this time aside. Tell me a little bit about your wins this week. Way to be. You don't get any feedback. What are some of the projects you were working on? Tell me about status on some of those projects. Or I know you were working on XYZ, and that seemed to be going pretty well. Can you tell me about where you're at on that? Both of those options are a question posed back to the employee that encourage them to bring the win to you. All right. You can do the same thing on struggles. Okay. So I've seen a lot of emails going back and forth on XYZ project. How's it going over there? Seems like there might be some areas that I can help with. Seems like there might be some room for opportunity. What's happening there? Make sure that you are giving those spaces. I know I'm not making the spaces right now because right now we're just talking, about examples that you can use as you go. But when you are having these conversations, give them the opportunity to talk. The first couple meetings, they might be a little bit quiet. Trust me, they will start coming with things to say. They want to come with their topics, with what's important to them. And so if you are setting that stage before them and saying, I'm here to listen, I'm here to absorb, please bring it to me, they will bring that information. Again, maybe not the first time, but they will bring it. Now, I say that knowing full well that I have had an employee or two who just really struggled with what that looked like. And to be honest, it was because they had already had 20 years of conditioning of what a one on one should look like. And in their experience, it was the manager just coming and vomiting all of the expectations and the checklist on them. And we're not doing that, right? That's what we said in the beginning. We're not doing that. So it takes some time to retrain a person to not follow that structure. So when that's the case, because undoubtedly someone will run into that, I want you to give them a framework. There is a really great book called Brag, Worry, Wonder, Wish by Steve King, not Stephen King, Steve King. You can find it on Amazon. I'll link to it in the notes of this video as well. But Brag, Worry, Wonder, Wish is a really simple, great framework for how to structure those one-on-ones if you need to give that structure to your teams. So when I brag about you, I brag about this. When I worry about you, I worry about this. When I wonder about you, and what I wish for you. It's an awesome framework. I implemented that for several years, and it worked really well with a lot of the employees that I had. They really liked the openness of that format, which is really just any employee-led format, right? But that one gave them the opportunity to just speak. They didn't have to have a concrete win per se. They could just brag about something. And it started opening up people who weren't comfortable sharing anything. Sometimes they'd brag that they got a new puppy and they hadn't had any accidents that week or something like that. It was really basic, but it just started to open up that communication. And that is going to be so valuable. Now, another structure that I had kind of employed after my team had gone through Brave, Worry, Wonder, Wish and sort of matured a bit over time, we started doing win, loss, learned, apply. So how we started the beginning of this video, right? What were your wins? Tell me about your wins this week. Tell me about your losses. Where did things not go right? And notice that I'm saying losses and not failures, because losses or obstacles maybe, sometimes it's a result of that person's efforts, and I want them to bring that too. Sometimes it's not though. Sometimes it's that there is no standard process for this thing, so everyone was doing it differently, or there were too many vacations because we decided to push this thing out around the holidays, and so there just weren't enough people around. Um, Sometimes the loss or the obstacle is completely out of that person's control. And then what did they learn? They could have learned something from a win, they could have learned something from a loss, or they could have learned something completely out of the ordinary. And again, this one is kind of fun because sometimes what we learned was as a result of those wins and losses. And sometimes it was, did you know that there's a really great new Korean restaurant? And just, fun information like that that helped you build rapport and helped you build a connection. And then this last one is probably the most important, applied. How did you apply either what you learned or what the win was, or even what the loss was? Or how can you apply it in the future? Part of these conversations, part of these one-on-ones should be about development and the next step. Now, lots of times people know exactly where they want that next step to be. They're moving to leadership, they're moving to this department, they're moving to this senior technical role, right? And other times they just want to be really good at the job they're doing, and they don't have any intent on doing anything other than exactly what they're doing today. Great. You can still apply your learnings in whatever direction that you're developing in. If you're developing in the role you're in, how are you going to apply this to the next project you get so that it goes even better? So you have less of a loss, so that we can foresee some of those obstacles that were out of our control this time. Maybe we'll schedule that project not around the holidays if we can help it, right? Or how can we apply what we learned on this win to what that next level would look like. And if they want to go into a management role, if they want to go into that supervisor leadership role, you can probably share with them how that would reflect in the work you do. You can provide that mentorship of, yeah, that was a really great win for you. You did a fantastic job planning that event and creating that fundraiser, and I am so proud of you. What that would look like in a leadership role might be planning the annual meeting and making sure that we have a strong agenda and speakers and all of that for that meeting. I know I had to do that one time, or I know my boss had to do that one time. And these were some of the similar things that they ran into as obstacles, right? So you can use that as a development opportunity if you're applying what was learned from the wins and losses. And again, it doesn't have to be quite that cookie cutter to say win, loss, learned, and applied all are going to connect. Sometimes they will, most times they won't. And you can have a really diverse and rich conversation from the times that they don't all perfectly align. This sounds like a lot of content, but I promise you, I have seen these meetings be incredibly impactful in 15 minutes. It's amazing how much you can get done in 15 minutes, how much you can learn about a person's strengths and opportunity areas and help them to develop in the role that they're in and into the next role that they're moving to in a 15-minute chunk, which if you're scheduling a 30-minute meeting, which that's, kind of the gold standard, right? That's what we're all sort of striving for, keep them to 30 minutes. You can either give half the time back, which fantastic, who doesn't want that? Or then you can go to your list and say, I've noticed a couple other things that I would just like to talk through a little bit. And that's great because you've put the priority on what the employee wanted to talk about and what they wanted to get through and help them to work through what is their priority right now, what they brought to you, and the development that they're looking for in the future. All right. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or send me a message. I am at Hearn Kelly on Instagram, and Transitional Leadership is the page on Facebook. You can also go over to kellyhearn.com and go to the Let's Talk tab, and we can connect there as well. So again, if you learned anything here today or from any of these videos, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things so that we can continue to get the word out. All right. I hope you have a great day.